Unless you open up a dough.
Cool.
Anyone can do this, I feel. All it takes is a couple thousand hours of practice.
That's it.
That's all.
Who doesn't have that?
Right?
Do you ever let the dough go 3 days, or is it
Yes.
sometimes?
And it actually does taste better after rising for 3 days than 1 day. 1 day is also good,
Yeah.
but 2 days is the best. This is where I make the crust ring. Really, the trick to learning how to open the dough is just developing a feel. It's sometimes called learning to read the dough.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at a health food store bakery when we were living in Tahoe, and the baker there that I was working for would often say, "You have to become one with the dough." And he would also say things like, "If the baker's not happy, the dough's not happy."
Oh yeah, I love that.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah.
If you're not present and you're thinking about other stuff,
Right.
you're gonna miss so much of what that your dough's telling you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's speaking to you. It's telling you when it's not ready, when it wants to go in the oven, when it wants to get topped, all that.
Exactly right.
Do you use grams or ounces?
Ounces.
About how many ounces is an 18-inch pizza?
Exactly 18.
18 ounces.
Yes. And I've often wondered, but I haven't done the research to find out, if I wanted to do a 20-inch pizza, would it be a
Would be
20
the
ounce?
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So this is the traditional hand slap.
It smells good.
That's part of the New York, that fermentation, the smell of the dough, it's really nice.
Oh yeah.
So the overhead toss is just considered flair in New York. That's not part of the traditional handling of the pizza. But I like doing it because it's super fun, but also, hi, welcome. We'll be right with you. But also because it gives me a chance to see the light coming through, and I'm pretty good now, much better than I used to be, but just to make sure it's even all the way across, there are no thin spots. And the kids just start screaming too. If there's little kids in here, they love it.
I love it. The showmanship and a happy customer.
Right. And we use a little semolina. It helps the crust slide off the peel when we're putting it in the oven, but it also adds a nice flavor profile and also a little extra crunchiness because this is a coarse ground semolina, so there's a little bit more crunch that it brings.
Now those lines on your peel, are those first?
We know that we're going to cut it into 8 slices, so when we're putting the toppings on, and there's a couple pizzas in particular, like the Whitestone with the ricotta, where we really want to make sure we get those ricotta balls right where we want them. If we can avoid cutting through a ricotta ball when it comes time to cut the pizza. So that was just a little added infrastructure to help us achieve the goal.
Yeah, my buddy Steve Dolinsky says you have to have the OBR, optimal bite ratio, when it comes to toppings.
Right.
If you have too much ricotta on one slice and not enough on the other,
Exactly.
kind of gross.
Exactly right. Yep.
So what are we making today?
Well, the classic favorite has always been cheese.
Yeah?
And when I found out throughout the New York tradition that cheese was the favorite, I was a little surprised until I remembered my kids wouldn't eat anything but cheese until they were like 20. So maybe that wasn't so surprising. And I also love a good cheese pizza. And then there's also, experts will tell you, if you want to test a pizzeria to see if they're really legitimate, good at what they do, you want to try a slice of cheese. Because some places will try to hold or try to hide a mediocre crust or a generic sauce with some fancy homemade sausage or some arugula or other wild, strong flavored, toppings. So the cheese is the classic favorite, and it's just solid good.
Why is it so important for you to weigh your cheese?
Because we know what the perfect amount is. So just like our crust is perfectly thin, just the way we like it, we use an 8-ounce ladle of sauce, which is the exact ratio for this size of crust and the amount of cheese that we're going to put on. And so there's just a synergy.
Yeah.
The result is alchemy. It's just pure magic in my opinion.
I love it.
So yeah, to keep it consistent.
So it's an 8-ounce ladle of sauce and how
Yes.
many ounces of cheese?
For a cheese pie, we'll do 12.
12.
Yes.
And if it's a pepperoni pie, would you use less?
Yes, because the cheese will overwhelm the pepperoni, and also if there's too much weight on the crust, overtopping the pizza is considered a crime across the industry. But what that looks like is when you go to pick up the slice, it will avalanche. All your cheese and toppings will all come off at once.
I hate that.
That is the proof that it's too much. And too much, it doesn't matter how good a thing is. If you have too much of a good thing, it's no longer good.
Balance is so important.
Right.
And that's why I appreciate the weighing of the ingredients and those lines.
Yes.
You don't see that everywhere.
Right?
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, well, we know how we like it, so we try to do it that exact same way every single time.
And you mentioned, you had an appreciation for In-N-Out. I think part of their success is their consistency.
Yes.
Right?
Anywhere you go, any time of day.
It's going to taste like
always
In-N-Out.
the same.
Yeah, and so Pizzeria Pizza, anytime you order a cheese, it's going to taste the way it's
You know
supposed
exactly what you're going to get.
to be. Yeah.
We had a guy give us a review recently, and he said he came in and picked up the 2 pizzas he ordered and went and sat in his car. And with the first bite, he was instantly back in his favorite pizzeria in New Jersey as a kid.
I love that.
And that's the kind of story that just, I do this to pay the bills, but that kind of thing is just so rewarding. It feels really, really good.
I love that.
So we can usually make a pizza in just a few minutes, but since I'm multitasking, I'm going a little slower. And this part I thought was always fun. Ever since the first time I saw it, I just felt like watching the cook make the spiral with the sauce was just sort of relaxing in a hypnotic kind of way. So that part's fun. And then we put the cheese on, and we intentionally try not to make it too perfectly even, because the prototypical New York pizza will have an appearance that is mottled or marbled with the sauce and the cheese. You'll be able to see little bits of sauce peeking through the cheese. Mm-hmm. And that's because anywhere where the sauce meets the edge of the cheese will then start to melt into the sauce a little bit. That whole combination sinks into the crust just a tiny little bit, and that's what I feel is the most alchemical part of the end result.
Alchemical, I like it. What kind of cheese are you using?
100% mozzarella.
Whole milk?
Yes. Yes. Whole milk, low moisture.
Do you shred it here, or do you buy it shredded?
No, we shred it here because the pre-shredded cheese is treated with a chemical powder to keep it from clumping.
Cellulose.
And we've tried it. We don't like it. And I don't even like the idea of it. Just that description, I'm already like, no.
It's one extra ingredient. We're trying to keep it minimal.
Exactly.
And also, cellulose prevents meltability, too.
Oh, okay.
So you don't get as nice of a cheese pull.
So when the oven is hot, this may only take 6 minutes, but when we get very busy and we're just putting one after another into the oven, it'll cool off a little bit. It may take, 8, even 9 minutes sometimes. But that is the whole process for producing the all-time classic favorite.
And why do you stick the band underneath?
That is just to make sure that the dough did not stick to the wood peel at any point. Mm-hmm. I have worked for other pizza concepts before this one. This is the only one where we make the pizza right on the wood. Other places usually make their pizzas on a screen.
Yes.
And then the screen and the pizza go into the oven, sometimes a conveyor belt oven. But the screen keeps the crust from charring. And again, that's the most classic characteristic of the original New York. So yeah, the ribbon is just to make sure it's not going to stick. And this part also took some practice, sliding it in while keeping it round. But that's all it is. It's just practice. I would encourage anyone to try it. You can do it yourself. It may not work the first time, but just don't give up. Keep trying. You'll get it.
Beautiful.
The original New York tradition, which is they always used to use wood and coal-fired ovens, which you've probably seen them. They're like brick ovens. They don't even have a door. So the ambient temperature is very low.
Right.
So the original New York pizzas would always be very white on the top because the air is very cool.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because it's about the char on the bottom.
I see.
So
you're really going for that bottom crisp.
Yes.
And blonde top.
Yes. So the pizzas we make for pickup, we do keep the door closed because we would not be able to make enough pizzas and stay in business if we kept the door open all day. But when we make the pies for the, as they're sitting in the display case, they will look just like the original pizzas they made in New York.
And what are you doing there?
Just popping the bubbles.
Why do you want to do that?
Most people will say that too many bubbles looks like a lack of attention or care. A couple of people have told me that they actually like seeing bubbles, especially the little bubbles. Tell us they're going to heat it up later. We can make a half-baked pizza, but we can't offer it.
Yeah.
So we'll always check to make sure that it's right. And that looks pretty good for a pizza that we know is going to be reheated. We'll use this one for slices. For a takeout order, I probably would have left it in for 1 more minute.
Yeah.
A little bit heavier on the char, but you see the nice marbling with the sauce.
That's
and
pretty.
cheese.
Wow.
Ready for another slice?
I'm not, but I'm hoping I can see you. I'm hoping this, if we can capture this guy's.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of our customers who just walk in will just want slices.
That makes sense.
And when someone is new and they walk in, so for instance, someone come in right now and say, I want a pizza. I could do it in 25 minutes. I could maybe do it in a couple minutes less.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to overcommit. You know, I'm very firm about under-promising and over-delivering.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we would tell them 25 minutes for one. And if they want more than one and I'm cooking by myself, I'm going to take a full 9 minutes to make every additional.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's not fast.
No.
It's not fast food.
It's not fast food at all, no.
The slices, on the other hand, only take 60 seconds.
Perfect.
So the vast majority of people who come in will say, oh my goodness, 30 minutes for a pizza? Let me just grab a couple slices and I will call you back when I have some time to plan ahead.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I step in there so that I can get
Not at all.
This is a refrigerator, right?
Yes.
Not a proofer or anything?
No, this is we call it the pizza make table. It's got all our toppings and cheese and things there.
Okay. One of the things I came across in the little tidbits of knowledge, they said that when you bake cold dough, you see more of those bubbles happen.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever...
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
We
Okay.
have verified that.
Okay.
It's true.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, but then like if you leave dough out at ambient temperature, there's risk of it over-fermenting.
Yes. Yeah. One thing I really appreciate about how this pizza is made is the sauce and the cheese and the toppings go right up to the crust ring, so you're not getting a bunch of just plain bread. Even though the crust is amazing, I feel like people don't go out for pizza to just get half their slices of plain bread.
I understand. Yeah, completely. We have 5 cheese on deck, or are they going to be different ones?
We're going to make the full selection for the case.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do
rotate out.
Yeah, we'll do half and halves of most of them, and then the top 3 sellers are the cheese, the pepperoni, and the Brooklyn. The Brooklyn is our meat lovers with the Hormel pepperoni, the mild Italian sliced sausage, and the all-beef Italian seasoned shredded meatballs. So we'll make wholes of those, but the others will all be halves.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Gives people a variety to choose from.
Right. It allows us to keep them fresher, also reduce waste, which is super important.
Yeah.
Sometimes our cheese grater will miss a piece, but we can
Do you
fix
use
that.
a mixer extension?
No, we had a Pelican head when I first got here, but it finally started to, give out, wear out. So I decided to get a regular RoboCoupe. I was super excited to get that. It was like my newest toy. Still pretty proud of it, but it works better, goes faster.
Yeah. Did you ever go to the Pizza Expo?
No, I haven't yet. I would love to.
I would love to see you there.
Yeah, I love reading about the competitions.
Yeah.
And it really makes me realize that despite all my practice, I still have a long way to go. I was reading a story a couple of years ago. The guy that won the best cheese slice was asked, so what's your secret? And he said, well, over the years, we started keeping logs of all the variabilities like atmospheric pressure, ambient humidity, temperature of the weather, and they would adjust their recipe accordingly to accommodate, because yeast is a living organism, and the way everything works together, it can be affected heavily by these different variables. But as much effort as I put into it, keeping a log of all that just seems kind of intimidating. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to pull that off. One interesting thing that just happened in about the last year and a half, though, once inflation started getting crazy and we started seeing the costs of a lot of things going up, some of the manufacturers, instead of raising their prices, would make their packages smaller and sell them for the same price. Mm-hmm. But the flour, what we discovered was that they started adding water.
Wow.
So we started having even more inconsistency with our dough, and when we finally realized that they were adding water, we figured out a workaround, which was to get a moisture meter, check the moisture of the flour content before making a recipe, and then we adjust our recipe based on the results we discovered.
Yeah.
So even though we felt like they were being kind of scandalous and setting us up to fail, we were able to defeat that, get around it. So our crust is, again, consistent just the way we like it.
Yeah, because each batch of flour just goes through the seasons, right?
Right.
Depending how dry it is.
Exactly right.
The environmental factors, and so it's a living, breathing organism.
It really is.
Until it's processed, and all of those things will change it up.
They do. They really do.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until a couple of years ago, when my buddy said every time he gets a new lot number from the flour company, he'll have to do one batch and play around with it and kind of go with what you said about the bigger touch.
Figure it out. Yeah.
He'll read something called the Certificate of Analysis to get an understanding of the dough, but he still says that is, that's the only real way you know is by making a batch.
Yes. Yeah. Only one way to find out sometimes.
Right. Yes.
Actually try it and see how it turns out. So this one is going to be the half Brooklyn, the meat lovers, and the half Indy. The Indy is our most popular combination with the Hormel pepperoni, the minced garlic, the white mushrooms, which we also get locally. These are organic California grown white mushrooms. We slice them super thin because that's our favorite taste. Because again,
I love that, even
though mushrooms are great, too much mushroom is going to overwhelm everything else, and it won't be as good as it could be.
Yeah.
And then the all beef meatball will go on top.
I like it.
And a lot of the toppings we measure so that we know the portions and the ratios are exactly the way we like them.
Not to move.
Yeah. I appreciate the consistency, so that's what I want to always offer as much as I possibly can. My personal goal is very simple. I just want our customers to have the best pizza experience in the world. That's all. Pretty modest.
It's beautiful, though. You know.
Well, for me, it's like when I think about it, I feel, well, what else is there worth doing? This is the only thing that satisfies. There it is, the half Brooklyn, half Indy. We'll top a couple of more because we can fit 3 at a time in the oven. So when we have 3 ready to go, we'll put them all in together.
Sounds good. Let's do it. This is a vegetarian pizza?
Yes, half tomato basil, half Whitestone. And the Whitestone is named for Whitestone, New York. Some people think it just is meant to describe the little balls of ricotta. But these are both vegetarian, and the tomato basil is just tomato and basil with Parmesan and minced garlic. And the Whitestone is our 3 cheese with the mozzarella, Parmesan, ricotta, and we also add chopped basil and minced garlic to that as well.
I like that you season the tomatoes.
Yes, a little oregano. When I was very young, we lived pretty simply, to put it gently. And my mother would sometimes make what she called pizza toast, which was just some bread, a slice of tomato, dash of oregano, and whatever cheese we had in the house, maybe Colby or Jack or cheddar. Once in a while mozzarella, but honestly not very often.
They have that at the cafe next door.
Oh yeah?
I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't.
It's toast, marinara, and cheese.
That is
like,
hilarious.
Okay.
Awesome.
You're doing that next door, and they have a pizzeria next door. I'm like, why don't you just send them over to the pizzeria and get a real
That's
slice?
probably just going to make us look better, I think. And of course, we have slices that can be heated up. We can get people on their way in less than 2 minutes. So.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I bet you your slice is the same price, but like 100 times better. 100 times better.
Right. All right. There's the tomato basil Whitestone.
That is pretty.
Yeah.
I love the color play.
Me too. Me too. When we knead the dough, it activates the gluten, creating an elasticity, which actually is what gives it the chewiness. But what happens is when you open the dough and you put it down, it'll start to pull back.
Shrink, yeah.
So once I get a little weight on it, I stretch it back out to the right size, and usually the cheese and the sauce are enough to hold it in place.
It's a great technique. And then you have to just be super careful when you launch it in to keep
Yeah,
it.
it's just a practice thing. It's a timing, and it's really just practice. You know, I'm often reminded of when I was young and I learned how to play catch. And at first, I was kind of challenged. I was struggling, but my uncle gave me a tip. Just keep the eye on the ball, he said. So I did that, and it seemed like magic. The ball would just go right into my hand. It was astonishing. But as I continued playing, and I wasn't even thinking about it, but I started to notice over time, I didn't always have to keep my eye on the ball. And I got to the point where I would see the ball start to fly up in the air, and I could just turn around and start running. And somehow my body would know. I eventually got to the point where I could sometimes just put my hand up and blindly catch the ball. Like my body would just figure it out. So I tell people, don't be too intimidated. It's really about the practice. Once you do it long enough, your muscle memory is going to kick in and you're just going to know. And that's where it finally becomes easy. Once we have the skill set, it should be easy. And that's when it's the most fun.
You're so practiced, you could do it with your eyes closed.
Almost. I haven't tried it. I'm not brave enough to try it.
It's big on social media.
Oh yeah?
It's a challenge. Yeah, a lot of pizza makers are doing it. Yeah, they're blindfolding themselves from start to finish.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to watch.
I bet.
The pizzas, I haven't seen one that came out nicely.
Yeah, I imagine mine would not come out very pretty either. So the mushroom, and actually mushrooms now are our most popular topping in that we use more mushrooms by the pound every week than anything else, even pepperoni.
Wow.
Yeah. Once we started slicing our own, using these white organic mushrooms, they just really took off. The other side we call a pig apple. Most people recognize this combination by the name pig or Hawaiian. Mm-hmm. Although in Hawaii, I hear they don't appreciate that. And I can't help but wonder if it was actually Hawaiian, wouldn't it be Spam in pineapple?
Exactly.
But we use Canadian bacon because pork lovers swear, and it is a premium cut. It's a completely different part of the animal than ham.
Yeah.
But it tastes much better. And although our biggest claim to fame is the foundation, the crust, and the sauce, and the 100% mozzarella, we try to get the best quality toppings for everything else we possibly can too.
I can definitely see that now.
So that's our pig apple. Sort of the name is a pun on the New York theme, I'm sure.
Yeah. Ah, pig apple.
Right. Instead of big apple, right.
Clever.
Yeah, Victor had some good ideas.
John, I'm gonna have to go in a couple of minutes.
All right.
Yeah. Were you gonna launch those 3?
Yeah.
Or were you gonna wait?
Yeah, no, we can do that.
Okay, amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me get my lid in.
Take your time.
Make sure I got a place to put these. Actually have to scrape the stone.
Sure.
Because the semolina will collect, and if the dough doesn't have good contact with the stone, it won't get the beautiful char that we want.
Because I'm next door. You ever met that? Just went this morning. I got a next door. Said I had it. I won't tell you where. It was terrible. But I go there. Yeah, it's sitting room. It's like, I know. I'm like, I think this is taking me. I said, how
Serena, could you start the timer for me? Thank you.
Beautiful.
On